His minutes per goal involvement, that's better than Sesko marginally. Sesko better when it comes to minutes per goal. And look at the XG there. His conversion rate is significantly better than Ollie Watkins over the course of the last 2 seasons. Those are the 2 seasons he's been at RB Leipzig. So a plus 9.5 XG means he scored nearly 10 goals more than you'd expect based on the chances that have been created for him and the shots he's taken. That's Watkins, who scored 3 more than we'd expect. But he's still got a very healthy conversion rate. Last season, Manchester United's number 9 scored 4 goals in 32 Premier League matches in the form of Rasmus Højlund. I don't think you can blame him entirely. Still a young striker finding his way. But if United can do a deal for a striker, I think most United fans probably feel they need to sign a striker in this transfer window. Though Rasmus Højlund did look quite encouraging the other night against West Ham. There is definitely a player there. The question is, do United go for the finished product in Ollie Watkins? 30 years of age, if it costs between 40 and 60 million pounds, there's no resale value there whatsoever. Šeško, 22, still yet to hit the heights yet, but the ceiling is there. It's enormous. He's going to be one of the best strikers in Europe. Can United get him in this transfer window? They've got a number of number 10s now, haven't they? Now they've got Mbeumo and Cunha. They need someone to finish off the chances. So if they can get a striker in this transfer window, you'd think it boosts their chances of doing something good this season.
He does sound like a really exciting talent, been dubbed the next Erling Haaland as well. OK, so those are the incomings. As for outgoings at United, Luke Shaw has suggested that there are no longer any stragglers in the squad as a result of Ruben Amorim's tough approach. Well, Amorim left some big names out of the club's pre-season tour, didn't he? Alejandro Garnacho, Antony, Jadon Sancho, and Jorrel Hato as well. Malassia, I should say. Or they all stayed at home, while Marcus Rashford has, of course, gone on loan to Barcelona. Let's hear from him.
There's no stragglers in this group anymore. I think everyone has to put the team first. He's made that very clear. I think, you know, he's picking players on how he feels will be best for the team, and that's, you know, his choice. And, you know, us as players, we're fully behind him and fully behind on his ideas and what he wants to implement in his team.
Yeah, I think that's a good insight, isn't it, James? Will we see any more departures then from Old Trafford anytime soon? Because they've got players they want to get off their books. Yeah,
I thought it was fascinating hearing from Luke Shaw there. I think he was talking about stragglers in terms of a mentality shift rather than pointing out the players who are not there right now with United on this pre-season tour, because we know there's 4 players who are training away from the first team, aren't there in the US right now. Alejandro Garnacho, Antony, Jadon Sancho and Jorrel Hato. Ruben Amorim suggested last week that none of the players would be sold for a cut price fee and they would be reintegrated if they're not sold. I'm not so sure that's the case. Maybe that was a negotiating strategy from Amorim. I think Garnacho is absolutely key here, because any money United make on Garnacho in this transfer window will represent pure profit, which will give them a huge amount more flexibility in this transfer window. Now, Aston Villa, they've been keen on him, but are understood to be unable to meet the asking price to buy him outright at this moment in time. Chelsea still maintaining an interest, despite the fact they signed Jamie Gittins earlier on this summer, but it remains to be seen if they act upon that. Borussia Dortmund are interested in re-signing Jadon Sancho once again. This would be the 3rd time they've signed him, but I think wages are going to be an issue here. Juventus have also held talks. Napoli may now revisit the chance to sign Jadon Sancho, having missed out on their first choice wide option. He's heading to Nottingham Forest. More on him later in the show. As for Antony, actually, I think he helped his market value somewhat at Real Betis last season. They reached the Conference League final, and Real Betis would like to bring him back, ideally this season. The issue is, I think they feel like a loan is more feasible. That's what their president has been quoted as saying. It is a case with all these players. United would love to do a permanent deal. They'd love to just get rid of these players in a polite way now because of the wages they're on, because of the amount of money that's been spent on them. If there's a permanent way of getting rid of these players, that would be ideal. If not, you'd be looking at loans with a permanent element attached to that.
Okay. I would just say, like, just explaining there, that the priority for United is to offload these players and to ideally get them on a permanent deal. And we thought that was before they could go back into the market. Now, sequence-wise, that's not necessarily the case. Manchester United, it's all about timing. If, for example, we've been talking about Benjamin Šeško, if that deal presents itself at some point in the next week or so, and they haven't sold any of these players before then, United will still feel that they can do that deal, but they will need some sort of assurance that somewhere along the line, some of these players are going to get sold. It doesn't have to be, well, I know you want to come now, Benjamin, but you're going to have to wait because we need to get rid of these players. It's a timing situation. It's a little bit like when Arsenal fans were complaining when they were actually signing players earlier on in this transfer window. Yes, Zubamendi's great. Yeah, Norgard, that's a good signing. But why aren't we signing a striker? Well, sometimes it's the timing. So Manchester United, ideally, yes, make the sales to bring in. Ideally, yeah, but it doesn't necessarily have to go in that order.
Okay. Patience, Manchester United fans. Okay. Liverpool then. And Luis Diaz has completed his move to Bayern Munich. James, this is for a substantial amount of money for a 28-year-old.
It absolutely is. And even then, I don't think Liverpool really wanted to let him go. We've been reporting on the transfer shows throughout this summer that he was not for sale, and Liverpool made that clear to Bayern Munich and to Barcelona. But they've reluctantly accepted for a number of reasons. A, the fee, £65 million. They think that represents his market value. And when you consider the fact he wanted to leave, he's been exploring moves elsewhere. He's 28 and there was little chance of him signing a contract renewal with 2 years left in his contract. It does make a lot of sense, and Liverpool are making a profit of around £22 million on a player who's given them really good service over the course of 3.5 seasons. He first spoke about wanting to leave last summer, but Liverpool held firm. They wanted to assess their options in the market and what they had. They didn't sign any players last summer aside from Federico Chiesa, but now with the players they've been able to bring in, it does make sense, and that fee is so significant. In fact, only 7 players over the age of 28 have commanded a higher fee. And there's some big players on that list. I think it's been a really good summer as well, it is worth saying, in terms of Liverpool and player sales. They've generated already, when this deal goes through, which it has today, more than £130 million when it comes to Diaz, Gerald Quansah, Gavin Kelleher and Trent Alexander-Arnold departing. And Darwin Núñez looks like he could be a player likely to depart. I think that's going to be more of a difficult situation whereby Liverpool are going to struggle to make a profit on him, because the deal they signed him on could reach £85 million if all the bonuses and add-ons were met. It feels like Liverpool would have to take a significant hit. But there is interest in him right now. AC Milan and Juventus. Napoli looked at him earlier on the window. They signed somebody else in that area of the pitch. But Darwin Núñez, you'd think his time is up at Liverpool, potentially. Been a really good summer so far for Liverpool, and it could get even better.
Yeah, really interesting development that Diaz has gone, considering Liverpool said just a few weeks ago, I was on this very show saying he is not for sale at any price. Right, got you. We've seen what Liverpool are doing. They're bringing in a lot of players. Darmesh, Ekatike's come in, Diaz is gone. So Isak, coming, not coming? What's the latest?
I mean, Newcastle United fans must be sick to the back teeth that this topic is continuing to be spoken about in this transfer window. From the outset, it's looking pretty ominous if you're a Newcastle United fan, because can they keep Alexander Isak? If you just take it on face value, yes, they can. They hold the cards. He's still got 3 years left on his contract. However, the narrative around his future seems to be changing. He's not on the tour with what was described as a minor thigh issue. It's since emerged he wants to explore other options away from Newcastle United. And possibly more significantly, whenever you listen to Eddie Howe now on this tour, some of those quotes would probably fill Newcastle United fans with a lot of concern. We hope he stays. I want him to stay, but I'm not in full control of whether he stays. Like I said to you, face value, Newcastle United can do what they want because he's got 3 years left on his contract. But the fact of the matter is, they've got a big issue here because the player's head has clearly been turned with this interest from Liverpool. And we've seen so many occasions when you have a situation like this, how this kind of situation plays itself out. And more often than not, what usually happens, and I'm not saying it's going to happen with Alexander Isak in this situation, but what usually happens is that the player gets his way because he doesn't want to stay at the club, and the club end up cashing in and cashing in big time on him.
Newcastle are in such a difficult situation. It felt like in the beginning of the summer, they were in a great place. They qualified for the Champions League. They had money to spend. They'd sorted out the issues with PSR, which meant they could attack the window. But a number of players they've tried to sign, they've not been able to. The likes of Brian Mbeumo, João Pedro, James Trafford. That was no fault of their own, but they couldn't get him through the door. And it means Eddie Howe and this squad are in a really difficult place heading into the new season with just over 2 weeks to go until the season starts. Antony Elanga has come in, but you look at what happened in their pre-season fixture today. The only fit striker they have right now is the 21-year-old William Asula. He's got 1 Premier League goal. They have very high hopes for him. So they potentially need to sign 2 strikers in this transfer window because Callum Wilson's no longer there. I think they're going to struggle potentially to get £150 million for Alexander Isak, despite the fact the club have put themselves in a brilliant situation, 3 years left in his contract. But Newcastle need to start acting now when it comes to setting themselves up for the season. Will Isak be there for the first game of the season? If they are to sign 2 strikers, we know Benjamin Šeško is a player of interest. Johan Wissa, it's a transfer they're exploring. Johan Wissa, that could cost more pounds, at which point you'd think maybe they'd need to sell Alexander Isak to bring in the 2 players to try to replace him. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to see what Newcastle and Eddie Howe do, because it has been such a difficult summer after having that massive boost of qualifying and getting themselves back into the Champions League.
What was interesting...
Get over the line with Wissa?
Well, what was interesting was when Eddie Howe was saying, we're not going to bury our heads in the sand. They know what's going on. Eddie Howe is a very experienced manager. He's seen players come and go from every club that he's managed. And he's seen a situation like Alexander Isak before as well. So it's like, we need to act, like James said. There's only a couple of weeks, a little over 2 weeks to go until the Premier League season starts. The Johan Wissa one has turned a little bit unsavoury. Brentford are expecting Wissa and the rest of the squad to return to training tomorrow. They were on that Portugal training camp, which Wissa returned home early from to sort out his future. They came back on Tuesday, a couple of days off, and then back into training at their training ground in West London on Thursday. However, we are told that while Wissa will come back to the training ground, it's not his intention to train with the team or to play with the team. So again, there's a big issue brewing here as well. He is angry, according to a source that I've spoken to, and disappointed about the way Brentford have approached any talk of his future. He's still hoping, beyond all hope, that Newcastle United have not given up on signing him, because he wants to go to Newcastle United. He feels that at 28 years old, going on 29, with a year left on his contract at Brentford with a 1-year option, this is effectively going to be his last chance to be able to play Champions League football. He thinks this is the time now for him to move. But Brentford don't want to let him go. Brian Mbeumo's already gone to Manchester United. Christian Norgard, their captain, has gone to Arsenal. Thomas Frank, the head coach, has left and he's gone to Tottenham Hotspur. They don't want to lose Johan Wissa, but Johan Wissa is thinking about his own future. I want to play Champions League football. This is my big opportunity to do just that. And hence why he may be taking what some people say is extreme measures to try and make this deal happen. But it's clear, while Newcastle still want to do a deal, they are exploring other options because Brentford insist it's not for sale. Well,
Wissa then very much running out of time if he wants to force that move, with just over 2 weeks left to go in this transfer window. We're going to stay with Newcastle because they are set to sign Aaron Ramsdale on a season-long loan from Southampton, which includes an option to buy. Now, he arrived in Newcastle earlier on for his medical ahead of completing that deal. Eddie Howe was asked about the goalkeeper earlier, but as always, gave nothing away.
No idea that you might know more than me. But yeah, it's difficult for me to comment until any player is 100% signed. But of course, as I said all this week, yeah, we are looking to add to the squad.
OK, let's just break away from transfers for just a moment and get up to Scotland, where Chris Boyd is watching Rangers take on Panathinaikos in the second leg of their European qualification match. What's the latest, Boydie?
It's still no, Jess, but it's the same theme as last week. I mean, it's been all Panathinaikos at the start of this game. Rangers have had a couple of breakaways where you felt as if they'd have made a better pass, but they keep threading the ball into the middle of the pitch and they can't get out. There's another save there from Jack Butland, but he's already had 2 saves before that one there. One at the near post. I thought he should have cut the Panathinaikos forward, should have cut it back, but he decided to have a shot. Then Palestra went through in goal as well, and it was 1-on-1. Jack Butland came out and managed to thwart him as well. It was a good save in the end up, but it's the same as last week. It has been all Panathinaikos at the start of the game. Just coming up in 18 minutes gone and Rangers can't get out. But again, they keep trying to thread it into Danilo's feet. He's had a good, the couple of times that they've done it, he's had a good first touch, but then it's bounced off him. His second one, it's got away from him. He's tried a pass and it's not been able to get to a Rangers player. They're really up against it right now. Obviously won the first game 2-0 and the lead 2-0 in aggregate. But it has been all Panathinaikos the opening 18, 19 minutes here.
Chris Boyd, thank you. OK, stay with us because next, David Moyes addresses reports of Everton's interest in Manchester City's Grealish. And we'll bring you an update on Arsenal's pursuit of Eberechi Eze.
Jack Grealish was a player when he went to Manchester City. He said he was the best player in the league at that time. Obviously, surplus to requirements. Now Pep can take him up to Club Cup. I mean, is there potential to try and do a deal with that one?
Well, I wouldn't talk about any one of them individually or directly. So I wouldn't talk about MD who would. No. There seems that for some reason all the players that we've got are getting sort of talked about or linked or getting leaked, whatever thing. So I'm certainly not going to discuss any one individual if possible.
Coy from Moyes. OK, let's get to Arsenal then. Mikel Arteta has been speaking to the media today, and by the sounds of things, he's still pushing for more signings before the end of this window.
Well, I said that I was extremely happy with the way that we have approached the window and how aggressive we've been, and there's still a long period still with the window open. So far we are very happy with what we have achieved. Make sure that at the end of the window we continue to be super happy.
OK, so he wants to be super happy. What does that exactly mean, Dharmesh? I mean, they've brought in a decent amount of players. They got that elusive striker they wanted. What's next?
Well, decent amount of players, 6 players.
Yeah.
Kepa, you could argue the best. Well, what a goalkeeping department! What a goalkeeping department now at Arsenal. Christian Mosquera, centre back. Martin Zubimendi, Christian Norgard, Noni Madueke and Victor Gyökeres. I've been talking about them all window. I've memorised them all now. But the focus has turned to potential sales. That said, we're told that interest does remain in Crystal Palace's Eberechi Eze, and dialogue quite significantly remains open between Arsenal and his representatives. Look, he's got a release clause in his contract, has Eze. We believe that to be around £68 million all in, which is an initial £60 million plus £8 million in performance-related add-ons. And even more significantly, perhaps, we understand that Eze is potentially open to that move. It's just one to keep an eye on in the final few weeks of this transfer window. But for now, as I mentioned, they're looking at possible departures. Fulham remain in talks with Arsenal over a possible loan move for Reece Nelson. He was there for a season-long loan last season, though it was cut short in December with a serious hamstring injury. And it's thought that the club are listening to suitable offers for a number of other players, including Alexander Zinchenko, Fabio Vieira, Albert Sambi Lokonga, who is still at the club. James was saying in the break, he's still there. I said, yes. He's still there.
Only 25 still.
Wow.
Yeah, and Borussia Dortmund are interested in Leandro Trossard. That was a report that Sky Germany mentioned last week. Arsenal not actively looking to sell Trossard because he is a great squad player for them. But you just wonder, with the 2 years left of his contract, with the likes of Noni Madueke coming in, with the likes of Victor Gyökeres coming in, will that further reduce the game time that Leandro Trossard would want next season? Maybe something for him to think about if there is concrete interest in him. And
just briefly, on Eze, he wants to go to Arsenal, right? As a player, he's just sitting there waiting?
No, all I've said is that he would potentially be open to the move. Arsenal, we know, are interested. They've been interested throughout this transfer window. But it is a case that it is a lot of money. And Crystal Palace are likely to want that full release clause paid. Whereas Arsenal could do one of two things. Yes, meet the release clause or maybe negotiate on it. And that doesn't necessarily mean pay less. They could say, we'll pay you a bit more, but for more favourable payment terms.
OK, let's go to Arsenal's London rivals, Chelsea. And James, it looks like there's been a breakthrough in negotiations for a centre-half that they've been chasing.
Yeah, it's been an incredibly busy summer for Chelsea. They spent a lot of money heading into the Club World Cup and it paid off. They won the Club World Cup. Jamie Gittins, João Pedro, Liam Delap, Esteval amongst the players through the door, and they're closing in now on the signing of the Ajax centre-back Jorrel Hato. Talks were set to continue today. He's been pushing for the move, just 19 years of age, but he fits into Chelsea's strategy of signing young players who have got a huge potential, but on low base wages with heavily incentivised contracts. They've been keen to sign Hato because he's a centre-back that can play left-back as well. It's incredible the amount of football that Marco Correa has played over the course of the last 12 months or so. He played nearly 70 matches for Chelsea and Spain last season. Levi Colwill has played at left-back for Chelsea, always done a good job there, but they feel like they need more options in that area of the pitch. So Jorrel Hato looks like he could become a Chelsea player over the course of the next few days as they gear up for another season. They've not had long off between the Club World Cup and the start of next season. We wait to see what impact that has. They're certainly building a squad that can be competitive and win more silverware this season.
Yes.
James says that they want more options at centre-back. I think Chelsea want more options in the forward areas as well, because I think they've only got about 844 options at the moment, so why not get one more? Now, in all seriousness, they're thought to be advancing on a deal for the RB Leipzig forward Xavi Simons. Club-to-club talks are ongoing. Club-to-representative talks are ongoing. They're advancing, we're told, no agreement yet, but it's understood that they are moving in a positive direction. But in all seriousness, they do want more options in those areas. But you'd expect then, with a number of players in those forward areas, expect some players maybe in those areas to leave before the end of this window as well.
OK, as for Nottingham Forest, it looks like they're gearing up for European football next season. We've seen how relentless it can be, haven't we, James, with midweek games, and that pressure to perform almost every 2 to 3 days is intense. They're going to need to add to their squad, aren't they?
It is intense, and it feels like the mood music is changing a little bit around Nottingham Forest at the moment, because they lost Antony then it looks like they may have lost Morgan Gibbs-White. He signed a new contract, and now they've beaten Napoli to the signing of Dan Ndoye. He was due to undergo a medical today at Nottingham Forest ahead of a move from Bologna, worth around £34 million. It does include a 10% sell-on clause. But he's prioritised a move to the Premier League. So, Jess, you could be in a situation at a Premier League match this season at the City Ground where you've got Callum Hudson-Odoi on one side and Dan Ndoye on the other.
Sounds good to me. OK, we're going to break away from transfers for just a moment and head up back to Scotland to speak to Chris Boyd. He's watching Rangers against Panathinaikos. Boydie, has Rangers got out of their own half yet?
Just. Finlay Curtis has just had an opportunity there from, I think it might be Rangers' first corner kick. Just watch there, it's headed back across by John Souttar, and it just bounces in the box, and Finlay Curtis just tries to stab it towards goal, but doesn't really get a great contact with it, his left foot. Actually looking at it again, it's a real big chance. But honestly, you want to see some of this defending from Rangers. In behind Max Aarons all the time, ball across, free header in the middle, and John Souttar was caught just behind Eden Idas, and Jack Butland made a fantastic save. And then there was a great chance once again for Palestri. Rangers tried to play out, get caught, just a squared ball across, and Palestri was in the middle of the pitch here and leaning back, should have just put it in the corner and managed to blaze it over the bar. That's been the best opportunity of the game. But, you know, just over 30 minutes gone now, it has been all Panathinaikos. They've been asking questions of Rangers defensively, whether it's been free kicks at the box, corner kicks. Rangers have stood up to it so far, but I'm not sure how much longer it can go on for. Still 0-0.
Yeah, sounds like Panathinaikos have got a point to prove after expecting a bit more from their result last time. OK, we'll be back to Boydie in a few moments, but after the break we'll be looking at the rest of the transfer news, including a look at Sunderland. They've been spending big.
The transfer show. Now it's time to go around all the clubs. Darmish, there's 20 Premier League clubs. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Arsenal, James. And their focus is on player sales, but dialogue remains open over a potential deal for Crystal Palace forward Eberechi Eze.
Manchester United have held talks with Aston Villa over the signing of Ollie Watkins, but the price has been deemed too high at this stage.
PSG still short of Bournemouth's valuation for defender Ilya Zabani. Talks continue.
Brentford expect Johan Wissa to return to the club's training ground tomorrow. However, one source has told Sky Sports News that while Wissa will come back to the training ground, he has no intention of training with the team.
Brighton winger Jeremy Sarmiento is likely to leave on a permanent deal this transfer window.
Good news for the newly promoted Burnley. Their centre-back Maxime Esteve has signed a new 5-year contract.
Chelsea closing in on the signing of Ajax centre-back Jorrel Hato and are advancing on a deal for RB Leipzig forward Xavi Simons.
Crystal Palace defender Rob Holding is set to join the Colorado Rapids in the MLS on a free transfer.
Everton still in the market for players after signing left-back Adam Asnou from Bayern Munich for £10.4 million.
Fulham remain in talks with Arsenal around a deal to bring Reece Nelson back to the club this season.
Talks ongoing between Werder Bremen and Leeds United over the loan signing of Isaac Schmidt.
Bayern Munich have signed Luis Diaz from Liverpool in a deal worth around £65 million.
Celtic have agreed a season-long loan deal to sign Manchester City centre-back Jarmay Simpson-Pusey.
Manchester United are focusing on sales, but work continues behind the scenes around the potential recruitment of a striker.
Keeper Aaron Ramsdale has been having a medical with Newcastle United after they agreed a loan plus option to buy deal with Southampton.
Dan Ndoye underwent a medical with Nottingham Forest today ahead of his move from Bologna. The winger is set to join in a deal worth around £34 million.
Sunderland have completed the signing of former Arsenal captain Garnacho Xhaka for a fee in the region of £17 million.
Thomas Frank is adamant Heung-min Son can play a major role for Spurs this season, amid reports the captain could leave after 10 years at the club.
West Ham United still working on a deal to sign striker Callum Wilson. Wilson is a free agent.
Defender Nelson Semedo has left Wolves as a free agent following 5 years at the football club.
Brilliant. Thank you, gents. Now, one of those teams that we spoke about, newly promoted Sunderland, have been one of the busiest clubs in the transfer window this summer. As they mentioned, Granit Xhaka is now a done deal, and it seems there could be more to come. Yeah, we saw those shots there of Granit Xhaka arriving ahead of finalising that deal. What a move that is for newly promoted Sunderland. And we've been looking at a comparison between how much they've spent and the other newly promoted clubs, Leeds and Burnley, have spent as well. If the deal for the goalkeeper, Robin Roos, goes through, that will take Sunderland's spending this summer to £135.8 million, which is actually, as you can see there, more than Leeds and Burnley put together. That's incredible. And Dharmesh, could there be more spent by Sunderland?
Well, you just preempted my line there, actually.
Did I?
Robin Roos, so thanks very much for that. But I will give you a few more details. They're on the verge of signing him as their new number one, are Sunderland. He's a Dutch keeper. He's having a medical after Sunderland reach an agreement with NEC Nijmegen, and the deal will see Sunderland pay an initial £9 million plus a further £2.5 million in performance-related add-ons. So the deal in total will come to around £11.5 million. 22 years old, Sunderland see him as their number one keeper next season.
Wow. James, what can you tell me about Burnley?
Well, I think it's been a difficult summer for Burnley after getting promotion straight back to the Premier League. Josh Brownhill confirmed earlier this week that he's not signing a contract extension. He was their top scorer in the Championship last season from midfield. They've just lost James Trafford, so they're looking for a number one. The good news is Maxim Estev is there for a significant period of time now. He's committed his future to the football club. He's just signed a 5-year contract. That was confirmed today. You think Burnley's hopes of staying up would be keeping with what they did last season under Scott Parker and keeping it tight at the back. 29 clean sheets last season. Maxim Estev is there to stay, and he'll be straight in my fantasy Premier League team as well.
Good stuff. Brilliant, brilliant. Yesterday James Trafford moved from Burnley to Manchester City, but Dharmesh, there's been a little bit of confusion on the transfer fee. How?
Yeah, I've been using my economics degree with this one.
What, an economics degree?
Don't want to talk about it. But yeah, 2-1 if you're asking.
Okay, not a first then.
No.
Cool.
So busy socialising.
So far from it. So the James Trafford deal. Lots of confusion about the fee and how much Burnley are due and how much Manchester City paid. But Manchester City have got so many clauses. I haven't seen this many clauses since Christmas, mate. You know what I mean? Thank you. They're laughing in the gallery. Appreciate that.
That was awful.
So let me get down to this. In all seriousness, look, James Trafford joined Manchester City from Burnley in a deal that Burnley said was a record fee for a British goalkeeper. Now, City will pay £27 million, but the deal is actually worth £31 million. The previous record is Jordan Pickford, £30 million from Sunderland to Everton. So if Manchester City are only paying £27 million, people will ask, how can this be a record fee for a British keeper? Well, City had inserted a matching clause when they sold James Trafford to Burnley in 2023. Newcastle United last week agreed a deal with Burnley worth £31 million. City then used their matching clause to match that bid of £31 million. However, on top of a buyback clause and a matching clause, City also inserted a sell-on clause, meaning that any profit that Burnley made above the £14 million that they bought him for, Manchester City would be due a significant percentage of that profit. And what that means is that sell-on has meant that Manchester City's outlay is not £31 million, but £27 million. However, the deal is actually worth a record fee for a British keeper, £31 million. Did you understand?
Thank goodness he's got an economics degree, otherwise we wouldn't have had a clue what he was talking about.
Did you get it?
No.
Need a pen
no,
and
I
paper
did.
for that one.
No, I did. Thank you, Dharmesh, for explaining that. One last bit of news from Sunderland. They've already been confirmed as the third highest spenders by a newly promoted Premier League club, only behind Nottingham Forest outlay in 2022 when they signed 23 players, and Aston Villa in 2019 when they signed the likes of Tyrone Mings and Douglas Luiz. OK, let's get back up to Scotland, and Chris Boyd is watching Rangers against Panathinaikos. Have Panathinaikos been able to make this pressure count yet?
No, not as yet, Jess. Obviously, after 3-4 minutes, I'd imagine there'll be a couple of minutes added on for injury time. Jack Butland went down, but he's OK now. But again, it's Rangers are their own worst enemy, trying to play out from the back. I get the fact that that's the way Russell Martin wants to play, but there's sometimes, Panathinaikos are just pressing Rangers so high, just go over it, go into a striker, but when it does, it keeps breaking down as well. Danilo, it's been bouncing off him. Kieran Dill's given it away a couple of times as well. Finlay Curtis, he was really good the second half last week, but it's a similar type performance to last week, but it's been all Panathinaikos, but they've failed to to find that breakthrough as of yet. But Rangers they're continuing to try and do the same thing, and I get the fact that that's the way Russell Martin wants to play, but if they get in at half time 0-0, he will be absolutely delighted.
OK, thank you, Boydie. Look at this, it's former Arsenal striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang on his way to finalise a move in a private jet, no less. We'll tell you where he's flying to next. Welcome back. We are approaching half-time in the game between Rangers and Panathinaikos. Let's get right back up to Chris Boyd to see how Rangers are getting on. Last time we came to you, Boydie, Rangers were under the cosh.
Yeah, they just a corner kick there, and Panathinaikos have just broke away. Kieran Dill's just been booked. It's a deliberate foul, but it's actually a good one because they were homing in Rangers' goal there just from the counter attack. But again, you're looking at it saying there's 2 minutes added, and then you've got a corner kick. You put it in the middle, counter attack. You're now asked to defend. I mean, I don't understand why you would do it. Just keep it in the corner, because as I said just before the break, Jess, Rangers have been absolutely demolished this first half without actually conceding a goal. Panathinaikos have been the team that's asked questions of them. Every corner kick's been right on top of Jack Butland. Every free kick's been put in the box. Rangers have stood up to it, but I just can't believe you've got a corner kick. You're just waiting this free kick being taken. I'd imagine after that it will be half time, but Rangers and themselves in a good position up the pitch, and you think to yourself, just keep it there. But this new style of play, you want to get it back in play and get going. It's just been taken there all the way to the back post, and it's been headed back in, or it's just been cleared from Rangers. And then a shot well over the bar, and there's an offside in there, but it'll be half time, and Rangers and Russell Martin will be absolutely delighted to get in 0-0 half time.
Rangers holding on. Thanks, Boydie.
Thank you.
Well, we told you earlier that Manchester United have began talks to sign the RB Leipzig striker Benjamin Šeško. Head coach Ruben Amorim needs a successful transfer window after that 15th place finish last season in the Premier League. And Amorim has received some advice from someone who knows all about hitting his targets, reigning world darts champion Luke Littler.
Yeah, I think the main two players that we have got, Mbeumo and Cunha, we wanted them and we've got them. But for myself, I think I've said it for the past week, Douglas Luiz from Juventus, it'd be a no-brainer. Whether you want him sitting, whether you want him attacking, he can do it all. Obviously rumours that Garnacho could be going to Villa, so why not take Watkins off them as well? And then also Emi Martinez out of contract, it'd be a no-brainer.
Shall we? If you got his number?
No, but it'd be better than us two.
No comment. Let's get to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Damesh, what's the latest? I was hoping he might come to the Premier League, but doesn't look like it.
This is a great story because Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has now arrived in Marseille ahead of completing a sensational return to the club. I think we can see some exclusive pictures from earlier on. This was Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang on a private jet. This is him leaving Milan Airport with his representatives from Premier Sports Talent on the way to Olympique Marseille. And we can see some more pictures at the other end. Have a look at the reception he has received on landing in Marseille. The fans have turned out in force. They are ecstatic that he is back at the club. He will have a medical tomorrow, having agreed a 2-year deal with the club. He'll take a pay cut as well from what he was on at the Saudi Pro League club Al Qadsiya. He left Marseille, you'll remember, for Al Qadsiya last summer after a season where he scored 30 goals in 43 starts. You can see why the Marseille fans...
They love him.
...are enjoying the fact that he is back. Last season for Al Qadsiya, 21 goals in 36 games. A mutual termination of the final year of his contract was arranged last week. He had offers from Spain, from Turkey, other offers from Saudi. There were inquiries from 2 Premier League clubs as well. There is Marseille, where he is returning to, and they are absolutely loving the fact that he's going back.
They absolutely love him. Damesh, thank you. OK, David Moyes. He's admitted that it's been a frustrating transfer window so far for Everton. The club have signed 4 first-team players this summer, but Moyes is concerned by the club's failure to land any of their top targets.
The truth is we're not getting them over the line at the moment, so that's a fact. We're not getting a lot of the deals done which we're hoping to do, so we're continually sort of reassessing and moving on. Well, maybe things are not coming to fruition, so we keep doing it. We'll keep trying to get the best players we can. We want to challenge ourselves to get good players if possible. We're trying to do that, but we're finding it quite difficult at the moment.
OK, we're into the final few moments of the show. Let's see how many clubs we can get around. James, Celtic, interested in the centre-half?
Well, they've agreed to sign Manchester City centre-back Jamal Simpson-Pusey, a loan deal. There's no option here of buying him permanently. City really rate this player. Just 19 years of age, he's set to sign on loan until the end of this season. A number of English clubs were interested in signing him. City only entertaining loan offers in this window. He made 6 first-team appearances last season. He's set to make plenty this season for Celtic.
Rob Holding, going abroad, Damesh?
He is, yeah, MLS, Colorado Rapids. He's agreed to join them today, subject to international clearance. Due to sign an 18-month contract with Colorado Rapids, leaves Crystal Palace on a free transfer, even though he had a year left on his contract. There was other clubs who were interested in him. Championship club Sheffield United, who was actually on loan with them for the second half of last season, and newly promoted Wrexham, who have been after nearly every single player that we've been talking about in this window. But didn't really work out for him at Palace. Been out of the first-team picture, made just 1 appearance since joining from Arsenal in 2023.
James, Ipswich looking to make a big money move after losing Delap.
Very significant move this. They've agreed a deal with Middlesbrough for Hayden Hackney, worth more than £20 million. Now, they're in talks with Hackney's representatives around personal terms. It'd be a record deal for Championship club if the deal goes through. He's been attracting interest from Premier League clubs, but it looks like he's heading to Ipswich. And what a statement of intent that is. They look to get immediate return to the Premier League.
Damesh, James, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Learned new information about Damesh today.
Welcome back to Sport Lab, your home for daily football updates. Let's dive into today's top transfer stories, with major moves across the Premier League and Europe. Luis Diaz to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich have completed the signing of Luis Diaz from Liverpool in a deal worth around £65 million. The Colombian winger leaves Anfield after 2.5 seasons, with Bayern continuing to rebuild under Vincent Kompany. Isak's future uncertain amid Liverpool interest. Newcastle boss Eddie Howe admits Alexander Isak's future isn't fully in his control, although he hopes to keep the striker. Liverpool made an informal approach for Isak before moving for Hugo Ekitike, but the Swede remains high on their wish list. Meanwhile, RB Leipzig are reportedly using the Ekitike deal as a benchmark as they prepare for talks with Newcastle over Benjamin Šeško. Chelsea make moves. Hato in, Felix out. Chelsea are closing in on Ajax centre-back Jorrel Hato, with a deal believed to be worth over £40 million. On the outgoing side, João Felix has joined Al Nassr in the Saudi Pro League, in a deal that could rise to £43.7 million. It's another high-profile exit as Chelsea reshape their squad. Ramsdale to Newcastle. Aaron Ramsdale is set to complete his move to Newcastle United, after the Magpies reached an agreement with Southampton for a season-long loan with an option to buy. The England international is due for a medical and could soon compete for the #1 shirt at St James Park. Sancho to return to Dortmund. Finally, Borussia Dortmund are exploring a deal to re-sign Jadon Sancho from Manchester United. Sancho impressed during his loan spell last season, and Dortmund are now in internal talks over bringing him back permanently. Juventus and clubs in Saudi Arabia are also monitoring the situation. That's all for today's transfer update. Which move surprises you most, Diaz to Bayern, or Chelsea cashing in on Felix? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned to SportLab for all the latest football news. We'll see you next time.